As I mentioned to you in the lesson last week, we want to discuss works cited and in-text referencing today, okay? Now, let me give you some rules for your works cited list first of all, okay? Please jot these down, and after I say each one, I would say, stop for a second, stop the video for a second, write it down, and then turn the video back on so you can go on to the next one, okay? We've done this earlier. Okay, so your works cited list is the list of the works that you actually have citations from in your paper. So if you used some stuff, some books or information from the internet or whatever for general background information, but you did not take specific ideas from it, so you don't have any direct citations to it, direct quotes or paraphrases from it in your paper, then it does not go in your works cited list. The works cited list is a list of only those works that you've actually cited things from. Okay, so that's number one. Works cited is only the list of the things that you've cited from. Okay. Okay, number two. The items in your works cited list go in alphabetical order according to the author's last name. When we first started this research paper process, I encouraged you to put each source that you were using on a separate note card and to set it up with the author's last name first, first name, the title of the work, etc. Okay? And if you remember, I told you if you don't have an author, then let the title be the first thing. Okay? Well, now we're going to put things in works cited in order, not in order that you use them, but in alphabetical order by the first thing in the listing. So if it's something where you have an author, it's going to be the author's last name. That is the first thing that comes in the works cited setup. So we put it in alphabetical order by the first thing in each separate citation, okay, for each separate work that you used. And again, if you have an author, then it's going to be the author's last name. If you don't have an author, it's just a title, then you'll put it in order by the title, okay? What goes in there, you'll find in your textbook starting on, I believe it's page 707, but you put it in order, alphabetical order, by the first thing in the entry, okay? Got that? Okay, number three, you do not number the items in your works cited list. They go in alphabetical order, but they are not numbered or lettered. They just go in alphabetical order. Okay. Number four, if you have two works by the same author, you may or may not have two works by the same author. But if you have two works by the same author, you would put them in alphabetical order, of course, first of all, by the author's last name, but then secondly, since the last name is going to be the same and the first name is going to be the same for both of those, so alphabetically they'd be in the same place, except they can't be, obviously. You would use then the title to alphabetize between those two. Okay, so that you alphabetize by the author's last name. If it's the same, then the title. Secondly, if you do have two works by the same author, the second time that author's name would go down, you actually don't put his name down. You put down 3 dashes. 3 dashes means the same as the author above. 3 dashes does not mean I don't have an author. It means the same as the author above. Okay? You with us on all this? Okay, next point. And I think it's number 4. You use reverse indentation for your bibliography. And what do I mean by reverse indentation? The first line in each entry starts at the margin. And then when you go to a second line, and if it goes to a third line, each of those lines will be indented. And then when you get down to the next entry, you start over at the margin again. So it's reverse indentation. Normal indentation, you indent the first line in something, and then the next few lines go to the margin. In a works cited, it's reverse indentation. So you start each entry at the margin, and then succeeding lines in that entry are indented. Okay? Fifth point, you double space all the way through your works cited. So it's the same double spacing that you're using in your entire paper. Okay? The works cited sheet is double spaced all the way through. So I'll try to hold this up so you may be able to see a sample of a works cited, and let's see if we can make it clear enough for you to see it. That's the general picture of a works cited. See the word works cited on top? And then notice the first author's name is Brown. The second work was by the same author, so we have a line, 3 spaces long. We don't have the name Brown again. Then we have the third author's name, and we're in alphabetical order, B, C, and then the next author's name starts with an F. Okay, see how it's all in alphabetical order? See how it's all double spaced? You might be seeing all this backwards. Yeah, you are. Sorry about that. That's right. You're probably seeing it all backwards, but hopefully you're getting the idea. Okay. And notice the whole thing is double spaced all the way through, the same way that your text of your paper is going to be. And notice on top the word works cited. Now, okay, read backwards. But notice works cited. I forgot that when we show stuff on film, it flips everything around. Maybe when you see it, it'll flip it around again for you. I'm not sure how it works. But anyway, on top is the words works cited, and then the entries in the works cited are underneath there. And again, notice each one starts at the margin. So that first one we have Brown, and then the second line in that one is indented. And then the third line is back to Brown again. We don't use his last name. We have 3 spaces. And then the fourth line is indented. And then we have the fifth line starts with a C, Carey. Okay. And then the sixth and seventh lines are indented. Okay. So that's what a works cited should look like. And there's actually a sample works cited in your text starting at or on page 716. It gives you an idea of what a works cited should look like. You'll notice all of these things that I've talked about will appear in what's on page 716. Okay, on page 706 and 707 and 705 up to 716, there are the rules for works cited, the form for each works cited type thing you're going to use. Okay, so if you're not sure what you need to put in a works cited for a particular work, all of the models that you'll need are on 706, 707, 708, etc. And a sample works cited on 716. Okay, now something else that's backwards here. Sorry about that, because I don't have a way to turn it over. But this is a sample page of text. Okay, and what you're seeing, you can't read it because it's backwards. But there's a sample page of text, and where's my finger on here? Okay, right here is where an idea comes to an end. Okay, this is a paraphrase. It's an idea that you took from somebody else, but you put it in your own words. It still Carey's idea. Okay, so you have to give Carey credit for it, even though it's all in your own words. So we have the author's last name and then the page number that appears on. Now, what does this Carey mean? Well, if you remember the works cited sheet that I showed you a minute ago, the third entry was by somebody named Carey. This idea is coming from that work by Carey, and this tells you what page it's on in that work by Carey. And in-text references are as simple as that. So this is how you give credit for each idea that you take from somebody else. Whether that idea is a paraphrase, or a direct quote, you do it the same way, okay? All you need is the author's last name and the page number. If you don't have an author, then enough of the title so that when somebody looks at your works cited sheet, they know which work it came from. What you're doing with works cited and parenthetical references in text citations are the same thing. What you're doing is you're giving your reader a roadmap to your idea. If Megan wants to find out what Kelsey's ideas were in her paper, where they came from, Megan could look at Kelsey's reference, the in-text citation in her paper, and then look at the works cited list at the end of the paper and know what work it came from. And then she could look back at the in-text citation and know what page from that work it came from. Okay, a logical question here. What about internet articles that don't give you page numbers? Well, you can't make up what you don't have. Okay? So if it's an internet article and you don't have a page number, then you would have enough of the title of the article so that the person could look at your works cited and know which article it came from. It would be up to them then to have to look through that article online until they found this specific thing you were referring to. Again, this is for every idea you take from somebody else, whether they appear as a direct quote, so whether you're taking their exact words or whether you're paraphrasing, it still has to be documented. You have to tell where it comes from, okay? So an old-fashioned way was people numbered them, and they numbered the things in their works cited. It doesn't work that way anymore. What I showed you is the way that it goes. We're using MLA format, okay? And you need to look at the pages starting on 705 and going up to 716 or 717 on your text. They show you how to do all of this. And what I'm going to put in this week's assignment is for you to start working on this works cited and in-text reference so that if you have questions, that's what you'll put in this week's assignment for me. And I'll lay that all out in the assignment. Okay? So hopefully this gives you a better idea. Works cited is nothing to be afraid of, and in-text references, what goes right in your text that tells where the idea comes from. It's simple stuff. You're drawing a roadmap. You're trying to get your reader to your source. Again, if you have an author's last name, it goes in there. Now, one exception to that. You might say something like, in his work, The Man in the Moon, Joseph Smith wrote, or put forth the idea that, and you do a paraphrase. At the end of that, you wouldn't say Smith because you already told right in the text where it came from. So at the end of that, you would just put a page number, okay? Or if it's an internet article, then it would be obvious from the person, for the person reading it, if you had given the author's name in the text itself as part of the way that you're writing it. In Joseph Smith's article, he stated, then the person would know to look in your works cited because there's no page numbers. They'd know to look in your works cited list and see where it came from. So therefore, at the end of that, there is no in-text reference because you've given all the information you can. Okay? So all of this is all about drawing a roadmap, making sure that you're giving credit, making sure your reader can find the credit. Okay? And in the assignment, I'm going to ask you to write down any questions you might have so I can go into specifics for you. Have a good week.